Hey you, it's True with a review of the new ELMINA. Yes, ELMINA returns after a long hiatus and she gets another light version after her Christmas form from 2019. But make no mistake, this is modern ELMINA. At least that's her codename, and she comes in at a decent speed of 498. Can she make your team's mission a success? Let's find out by looking at her active skills. The first one is called Photon Splitter, gives 2 spirit, 70 time unit cost and damages 2 enemies for 200% damage plus 150% for each charge stored on the user, which means a maximum of 650% total damage, ignoring enemy status effects including stealth, damage reduction effects and skin passive skills, and also heals the user for 100% of total damage dealt. Also, this attack does not wake up sleeping enemies. A lot to like about this skill, but don't get too used to it, because she will usually like to prefer, or she usually seems to prefer her other 3 skills. The one she will always use straight away is her second skill, gives 3 spirit and is called Limiter Release. Instant kill, 1 time unit cost. ELMINA will overclock for 150 time units. However, if the user is conjured, she will only overclock for 75 time units instead. Of course, there can only be one original modern ELMINA, but as we will see on the passive side, there is room for a lot more. Now, while ELMINA is overclocked, she heals 25% of max HP at the end of each turn, which is decent. But given that Kronos heals more than that permanently, it's also not amazing. She cannot fall asleep during that time, so that is nice. But again, with the comparison to Kronos, who is permanently sleep immune, okay. And the attack is permanently increased or multiplied with 1.5, not stacking with enrage effects. This skill can only be used once each time this unit is on the battlefield. And then there's the skills you will probably see her use the most, probably because it's written in all caps. It's called Code Delete, 2 spirit cost, 50 time units, and deals 300% damage to 1 enemy plus 150% for each charge stored on the user for a maximum of 750% total damage. Now keep in mind, if she used Limiter Release, this means this will deal 450% straight away, or if she has 3 charges stored, that means that this deals over 1000% total damage, ignoring enemy damage reduction effects and any effects of non-boss enemies that would prevent the target from being defeated. So this is an execute skill, and if she has plenty of charges or is enraged due to her overclock or due to a regular enrage, then this is an absolute killer skill. Now there are some downsides though, which I think need to be mentioned. She really likes to focus on the Code Delete, but compared to the Photon Splitter, yes, Code Delete is an execute skill and deals slightly more damage, but it also basically costs 4 spirit more. It attacks only 1 target, it doesn't heal her at all, and also it wakes up sleeping enemies. Just some things to keep in mind, but either way she is aiming to get the kills, because if she gets them, she will unlock her final skill that is called Phase Out, 2 spirit cost, which is actually a rather high cost, I would say, except in one situation. Phase Out exchanges 1 random enemy with an imposter. Of course, this will fail if the target is immovable, and it will also fail if there are less than 4 enemies on the battlefield, and no imposters will be added in that case. Also, the exchanged enemy will be sent to the front of the enemy reinforcements, so this is not super potent, given that this is not a random banish or something like that, which messes with the team order of the enemy team. Then it pulls the user, so that is ELMINA, away from the battlefield to the front of your reinforcements, so this is good. If there are no ally reinforcements, and this is the situation that I meant before, it adds enough ELMINAs, a maximum of 3, to the ally team to still pull the user away to reinforcements. So that is nice, but even though there's a theoretical maximum of 3, I think the practical maximum is actually 2 or even 1, because not only does she need to get a kill, she also needs 2 non-conjured allies on the battlefield to actually use Phase Out. Which is also the reason why you didn't see her use Phase Out at all in the initial skill demonstration battle. Now I'm sure you want to know how this whole cloning thing works after seeing so many of these ELMINAs on the screen. Whenever ELMINA defeats any number of non-conjured enemies with an attack, another modern ELMINA will be added to the front of allied reinforcements. This effect cannot trigger if there are already 8 or more modern ELMINAs or ELMINA moon-wheeled agents in the allied team. After that addition, all charges are removed from this unit, which is why this is usually the ideal moment to use the Phase Out again, given that her power will be lower, or rather her attack output right afterwards. Now using it straight away might actually be relatively easy, because she has not only deadly momentum, but more specifically, each time she attacks an enemy and leaves them on or below 25% of max HP, even if they are defeated by the attack, she will get another turn. Damaged targets of course cannot trigger this effect again until time units advances, and given that a kill adds another ELMINA to front of allied reinforcements, a Phase Out that is used right afterwards if she gets another turn will just mean that another light modern ELMINA enters the battlefield right away. Now why is this so nice? Let's look some more into her Hyperdrive passive. If ELMINA entered from reinforcements, there are 2 triggers for some strong effects. One trigger is when she activates limiter release, and the other is when she takes damage from an attack for the very first time and survives until after the end of the turn. What happens in these 2 scenarios? All allies will be purified. Any negative status effects like sleep, burn, poison are removed. Of course, this is not true for deep sleep, healing burn, or lethal poison. And it also heals all allies for 100% of max HP, so your whole team will be at full HP again. And it doesn't stop there, because then all other ally units will be given the next turns by having their time units reduced. This means there's no limit. Even if you have 2 allies that have like 1000 plus time units, they will all get the turn thanks to this. So that's already really nice. And it doesn't quite end there, because there's more to her Cyber Doubles passive, and that is that she's permanently immune to stun effects. So now we also have a light unit that is permanently stun immune. Not sure where Sigza is going with all these permanently stun immune units. I guess it still works somehow, because storm units are getting some disable shenanigans. But yeah, it feels like every second unit at this point already gets perma-stun immunity. What happens when ELMINA first enters battle? Another ELMINA will be added to the front of allied reinforcements straight away. That is, if she starts at the beginning of a battle or if she comes in from reinforcements, she always comes with 2 units straight away, which of course is a lot of help. The original form actually has a hold ground, while her conjured versions only have an endure. Both of these passives are not extremely strong survival mechanics, especially considering how she tends to heal. But yeah, she is a clone unit, so one cannot really complain too much about her being not insanely hard to kill, given that she can only make more of herself anyways. Now how does her charge mechanic actually work? Each time she attacks and does not defeat any non-conjured enemies, she will gain a charge. Now this means of course that she needs some attacks to actually get a lot of power and attack damage output. But given her get turn mechanic, this could work, and also it also helps that this specifies that this is only for non-conjured enemies. So if she defeats conjured enemies, she will get another turn, she will also get a charge, and so she might be able to kill a non-conjured enemy right afterwards, get another turn, do a phase out, and all that good stuff. Now I jumped pretty wildly between her passive paragraphs, but I think I covered pretty much the gist of it. Maybe one thing to point out: the created ELMINAs are true clones. They are not ephemeral or anything like that. They have the same power as the original, all that stuff, except for example that hold ground endure difference or that overclock difference. But all in all, they are rather similar. So yeah, now as for analysis, I mean, I think you can already get a great idea based on the exclusive preview battles on the screen. But let's go through it. There is a lot to like about this ELMINA, but there are some weaknesses as well. Yes, she can be weak to poison. She doesn't come with any stealth or armor to protect herself. She can also be vulnerable to sleep outside of her overclock mode. But I think her biggest issue actually are highly buffed guards. At least in the beginning of a battle, this could be a huge problem for her, especially New Anya, because she also struggles against disable. And since she cannot ignore guards, getting these kills that she really wants to get the clone army going isn't easy or even well within her reach. If she has a lot of charges and is enraged, yes, she could even take out super buffed guards, but it's gonna be very difficult. And with the New Anya meta we are in right now, this could be a huge problem for her. Now, what is the upside to this? She might be even better as an entry unit anyways. She can also be used in front, don't get me wrong, especially because she gets that nice clone straight away into the reinforcements as well. But having two of her come in from reinforcements for sure also helps. And the very nice thing is that she can be used pretty much anywhere in the reinforcements, even as a powerful finisher. I think there are some good opportunities for her to be a really good turnaround unit that comes in once hopefully a lot of the guards are already cleared, but you might be struggling against some of the other top units, and then she could become quite lethal against non-protected enemies. The ally heal and give turn mechanic is pretty much nice for all teams except burn. And I guess that's already a segue into which teams ELMINA is recommended for in my eyes. Burn falls flat because of two things. One thing is that purification, which, okay, if it is a healing burn effect, it doesn't get purified, but Lucifer and Claire, the two strongest burn units, are not really on that mega healing burn trip. And also ELMINA burning will be a problem because she only has a hold ground or an endure, both of which will not help if she is burning, and she will rather die quickly. So even though she is permanently stun immune, running her in a burn team isn't recommended. Now, how about sleep? I mean, you saw that her first active skill is specifically made, the photon splitter, to not wake up sleeping enemies. But yeah, if you listen to me during the description of the active skills, code delete will take precedence pretty much all the time. Even if the enemy team is sleeping, she will not switch to photon splitter, it seems, and instead go for that code delete, which can be rather annoying if the code delete doesn't actually kill the enemy, because then that enemy will wake up again. Still, because of her give turn mechanic to her allies, the purification, all that jazz, I can still see her upgrade a sleep team in some situations, but keep in mind that waking up drawback. Now, for all other team types, I quite like her. Poison, stun, hybrid teams, I think they will all find a spot to have ELMINA come in to great effect. And another nice thing is that there is no awakening scaling in her skill sets, so the only thing that will be buffed is her HP and attack with a full awakening. So even at one copy, she will get the 2-for-1 mechanic at the beginning. She will have all these kind of give turns. However, it will be much harder to get a clone army going. That will be pretty much impossible, I would say, at one copy. I mean, unless you level her up very highly, but if you do that, I would recommend getting her fully awakened anyways. So even though she doesn't have awakening scaling, to really fully utilize her and maximize her chances to actually get a lot of clones, which could carry your team to the victory. A full awakening is still in order. But if you don't have enough soul stones, or if you only want to use her a little bit for her support capabilities, then one copy is a good pull, especially if you run poison, stun or hybrid teams. But as I said, maybe one copy for a sleep team also doesn't hurt. Now, all in all, given her struggles, or the struggles at least that I foresee that she has with new Anya, I'm not 100% sure if she's gonna be a staple in the front. I could see her become a very popular pick for the 5th unit. One thing to consider as well is that while she does give turns to your allies, if they are disabled, it doesn't help all that much. Something to also keep in mind because of Kronos. Another thing to keep in mind is that she is, as I mentioned before, rather weak to poison. So having her with some support that gives her stealth, we got a few releases recently that could do that, might be a good idea. And yes, she is rather vulnerable to getting taken out by Dark Poison unit, but on the other hand, if she gets to act first, if she gets a good attack in, then she might even take out a dark enemy early herself, given that she also has the elemental advantage while attacking them. And on the other side, if she gets killed a few times and still has some clones or some backup coming in, then getting killed is not so bad. Most of the units, on the other hand, obviously will be gone after they are killed. That's it. Hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a like if you did. Let me know in the comments what you think about this new modern ELMINA and whether she can also take the top spot in my SSR world rankings like her Storm version did all these years ago. And as always, thanks for watching.